Stealing a police car is one of the riskiest things you can attempt, with any wrong move resulting in certain jail time. So what does it look like when stealing a cop car goes wrong? Today, we cover exclusive body camera footage of the few times this has happened. Starting with a suspect who did not hesitate in showing off his inner escape artist skills. Around 11 a.m. on June 20th, 2023, Colorado troopers were called to assist Otero County Sheriff's deputies who were in pursuit of Anthony Alfonso Sanchez on Highway 50 in Otero County. The vehicle was reportedly called in as a shots fired call, and the suspect was reported to have caused multiple crashes and attempted to cause head-on crashes with other vehicles on the road. Using a technique called the pit maneuver, or the precision immobilization technique, the cops were able to spin Sanchez's vehicle around and completely stop him in his tracks. Then they rushed in to arrest him and even found a gun in the vehicle, but this was far from where the story ended.
I got you. Dude. Get out. I didn't do shit. Behind your back. What's going on? It was loaded and chambered.
Sanchez looked scared and confused, and even claimed he had no idea what was going on or what he did wrong. But that might at least explain what he did next.
Alright, should we pat him down? My girlfriend shot at me, and I don't know what the going on. You want us to bring to TBI? Yeah. Okay, alright. Open your back seat.
After being placed in the back of the patrol vehicle, he managed to bring his handcuffed arms under his legs so that they were in front of him, and proceeded to do this.
Take your shoes. First, take your shoes off. Anybody right now? Take your shoes off.
Sanchez jumped into the front of the patrol vehicle and simply drove away, as for some reason, the car didn't have a partition between the front and the back, and the keys were ready in the ignition. And what's worse, the police had left a service rifle on the passenger seat of his new ride, so he was now speeding away armed in a stolen police vehicle.
I need as many sets of stop sticks set up as you can get. The rifle is in the vehicle, passing the 390. It has a marked patrol unit. Lights are activated.
The police immediately set their focus on stopping the vehicle, because the longer he was driving like this, the more danger he was putting civilians in. He was driving over 120 miles per hour down public roads at 11 a.m. If this was allowed to continue any longer, many lives would have been put at risk, so the cops aimed to put stop tricks or stingers in place. They are strips of spikes that puncture the tires and stop vehicles in their tracks. The only issue was that Sanchez was a better driver than they realized. Sanchez was able to avoid the stop sticks not once, but twice, and continued to speed down the freeway at increasingly dangerous speeds. However, the cops knew exactly where he was going, and if they kept at this method, it would eventually work. What they seemed to forget, though, was that taking out a car's tires at 120 miles per hour was an incredibly dangerous feat on its own.
Am I taking this? Is that what she said? What's in the cat?
Sanchez crashed into a parked semi-truck at over 100 miles per hour, and after being removed from the wreck and taken to the hospital, he was pronounced deceased. Luckily, the semi-truck driver sustained no injuries, and nobody else was hurt in pursuit. But it did come very close. The pursuit was allowed to go on for much longer than it should have been, as it went on for 21 minutes and covered 37 miles. But it was most astonishing that it was even able to happen in the first place.
Good sticks. We got up to.
And this next woman was very good at lying, but not so much at driving.
I swear I did not steal this vehicle.
Stop!
On March 30th, 2018, a 36-year-old woman named Angie Frost was driving a car in Tulsa, Oklahoma that had been reported stolen, and when she was pulled over and questioned about it, she had the most bizarre excuse for it.
I live right up at Studio 6. Stephen Curtis Turner is his full name. I swear I did not steal this vehicle. He picked me up today.
Have you seen him in it before?
Yes.
How do you think, just assuming it?
I'm assuming it. He's never lied to me before.
Okay.
He lives over at Balboa Apartments on 51st and Yale. But I even have a witness that saw him pick me up in it today.
The police knew this car was stolen because it was flagged on their system. They knew without a doubt that somebody had reported it as missing, but they didn't know exactly who took it. That is why they had to assume it was Angie, as she was the one driving it at the time, and claimed the previous owner bought it straight from the dealership. Also, given that she had a track record, it was safe to assume that she was lying about something.
You don't understand. I can't afford a lawyer. My numbers are on that. I don't. Please, I didn't steal it. Can I talk to the people that own it?
Angie then told the officers that she was in regular contact with the captain of another police department, working as an informant, and could even give them information on local drug dealers. Obviously, that did not excuse her of her current crime, so they decided to sit her down in a patrol vehicle while they continued their investigation. But for some reason, they decided to put her in the front passenger seat of a running police car, something that a car thief would realize instantly.
The whole prostitution thing, the Secret Service with the counterfeiting.
He's gay and he talks like really loud. My original cell phone got stolen. Those are ones that I have bought.
I told you, I have friends.
Angie simply shifted over to the driver's seat, locked the door, and sped away without a moment's notice.
Stop!
Luckily, it was around 1 a.m., so there was very little traffic on the road. But the speeds of up to 90 miles per hour Angie was finding herself at were still extremely dangerous in such a residential area, so the cops needed to shut this down immediately. Terrified of the situation she had found herself in, Angie turned left off the main road and onto a smaller side road, which led to her downfall.
Come here now! Get on the ground!
Now that she was cornered, Angie realized her only option was to bail from the vehicle and sprint away. But the cops are trained for situations just like these, and she had a hard time staying out of their grasp for long, especially while she was in handcuffs.
Somebody unhook her hook so we can put him back behind the back.
Oh, please.
You go back inside. She's fine. You stole a police car in front of 3 police officers.
If it was an adrenaline rush Angie was after, she sure got it. But that also came coupled with a considerably larger sentence than she was originally facing, and the cops made sure to let her know how bad of an idea that was. At least she was right about the prison part, as after a fairly short trial where she pleaded guilty, Angie was sentenced to 3 years behind bars. Both of these cases so far involved a criminal making a last-ditch effort to set themselves free. But what happens when instead of a thief, it's just someone looking for a good time? Our joyrider in this case was a woman named Destiny Laura Hawkins, and she wasn't even involved with the original 911 call. A single officer was called to the side of the road after 11 a.m. on July 5th, 2019, with regards to a civil dispute involving a taxi driver allegedly stealing a customer's property. But out of nowhere, the cop was alerted about something strange that was happening to his car.
North Carolina, he got here with a Greyhound in Detroit.
He picks it up and puts it all back in the back of the taxi and drives off.
The cop was understandably shocked, as he had never been in a situation like this before, and they don't train for it. The best he could do was radio in a description and ask for a pickup so we could help take the joyrider down.
What? 604 go. I'm going to the 604 go.
A woman pointed out the fact that most, if not all, police vehicles are fitted with a GPS tracker that dispatch uses to help coordinate things back at base. Now, it all came down to a giant game of cat and mouse across Detroit. The cops knew the area better, and they were far better drivers, so it didn't take them very long to get the stolen vehicle back in sight. Unfortunately for us, there were no exciting chases or strategic maneuvers used to take Destiny down, as she simply crashed into a parked car at over 80 miles per hour and completely wrecked her new ride. Multiple other vehicles also received damage from the event, and so Destiny was charged with unlawfully driving a vehicle, stealing property worth over $20,000, and fleeing police in an automobile. She was sentenced to 4 years in prison. But sometimes stealing a patrol car can end up being your last ride. On September 13th, 2022, at approximately 5 a.m., Concord, North Carolina police officer Timothy Larson went to the parking lot of a Nissan dealership to investigate a possible auto theft. Officer Larson arrived to find 29-year-old Brandon Combs had the door open while he was sitting inside a Nissan Frontier truck at the dealership. The DA's office said Combs was wearing dark clothing, sitting in the driver's seat, and had been released from jail about 36 hours prior. They said Larson wasn't aware Combs had a felony fugitive warrant pending from another state, and several felony convictions on his record. Combs said to the officer, "Take your gun off," as Larson walked up with a flashlight and asked what was going on.
What's going on? Hey, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Hey, do not move! Do not move!
Larson then tried to get Combs to step out of the truck, and Combs refused. Larson briefly took cover behind a white van before continuing to yell commands at Combs.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Out of the car! Get out!
Combs ran from the truck towards the police SUV and got inside. Larson chased after him. As he approached Combs in the police SUV, he positioned himself with his gun pointing directly at him. Larson then fired 5 shots before calling in shots fired on his radio and shooting once more at Combs. Combs was later pulled from the SUV by police and given medical aid until EMS arrived. He was taken to the hospital, where he passed away from his injuries. The Concord Police Department and SBI looked into the shooting and questioned Larson about his actions. Officer Larson was fired in May 2022. According to the notice of dismissal, the officer refused to answer questions following the shooting and gave misleading or untrue answers in other instances to his superiors and the State Bureau of Investigation, which handled the shooting investigation. In late August, the Cabarrus County District Attorney's Office announced former Officer Timothy Larson would not face any charges in the deadly shooting. Combs' mother, Virginia Tayara, filed a lawsuit in August 2022 against Larson and the Concord Police Department in federal court on claims of excessive force, assault and battery, wrongful and intentional death, and gross negligence. Having a patrol car stolen from you must be one of the most surprising things that can happen to an officer. But in this situation, where 2 cars were stolen from right under their noses in a row, now that must be straight up embarrassing.
Move again in a Coco K9 going north on 95.
During the first pursuit, the suspect was speeding down a public freeway and being chased by multiple cop cars, all while somehow managing to evade multiple pit maneuvers. A cop managed to put all his training to work and rammed the escaping vehicle off the road. Almost instantly, the wrecked patrol car was then surrounded by the police, but somehow, not a single cop saw this coming.
Pretty good traffic.
10-3, 10-3, someone just hit him into the woods.
Cross to me! Coming up the driver!
Dodge! Press the dodge!
Somehow, the escapee managed to run from the first crashed patrol vehicle and take over another one before putting his foot down and fleeing the scene once again.
Hey, get behind the car!
He's on the move again in a Coco K9 going north on 95.
Thinking fast, the cops managed to radio ahead to set up a team with a stinger that would puncture the tires of the vehicle and slowly bring it to a stop. That's why you can now start to see the car smoking, and soon enough, it'll be forced to slow down, where the driver will risk putting himself in a lot of danger.
Any other vehicle film with them block your doors.
Half-mile south of Dunlawton. Half-mile south of Dunlawton. Vehicle is smoking. Vehicle smoking north of 95, or north of Dunlawton by about a half-mile.
After coming to a safe stop, the driver exited the vehicle and was apprehended by the cops. It's difficult to believe that such a professional stop was made by the same cops that let him steal a patrol car from right under their noses. But in the end, the stop sure was textbook.
Step back. I'm FBI. I'm CIA. I'm Central Intelligence. Spread your feet. Spread your feet. F-150. Highway. Watch your head. I said I can't put it down. I say Fred.
Any guesses as to what might not be the best hiding place when cops are looking to arrest you? Milwaukee police released a dash cam and body cam video from a December 2022 incident in which a man stole a Milwaukee police squad car when an officer was conducting a traffic stop. The accused, 34-year-old Daniel Barton, was charged with 1 count of take and drive a vehicle without the owner's consent. According to the criminal complaint, a police officer was conducting a traffic stop near Holton and Keefe in Milwaukee shortly before 2 p.m. on December 5th, 2022. The officer was speaking to the people in the stopped vehicle when he observed his squad car drive off southbound on North Holton Street. The officer radioed that the squad car was stolen and offered the direction the vehicle was last seen traveling.
Somebody just stole my vehicle heading northbound, heading southbound on Holton Street. Lights are still on.
A few minutes later, another officer spotted the stolen squad car near Richards and Burley. A man jumped out of the squad car and fled into an alley.
And then southbound off of Keith. What's that spot number again? You said 106. Berline Richards. The guy's running westbound. Berline Richards. It's a white male, blue jacket, blue jeans.
When another officer arrived in the area, a citizen pointed at a Milwaukee garbage cart and stated that the suspect was in there. The defendant was located inside the garbage can with the lid over his head.
Come up to the alley, so I was like, put your hands on your head!
A review of the squad dashcam video allowed the viewer to hear the driver giggling as he drove off in the vehicle, and then you see the defendant exit the squad car and run down the alley. Barton was charged with a misdemeanor and released from custody pending a competency evaluation. A warrant was issued in February for missing a court date.
I don't have a case, so sorry.
Sounds good.
But he was then arrested again in May 2023 and also accused of stealing a squad car in Shorewood. The Shorewood police squad car was stolen on May 30th. It happened on Capitol Drive near Estabrook Park, again during a traffic stop. The squad car was found abandoned near Capitol and Holton. It was not damaged, and in the body camera video from that incident, officers are heard saying the car was locked. On Friday, October 6, 2023, Barton was found competent to proceed to trial. Barton's defense said it had an offer and will be deciding later if the case will proceed to trial.